Hi there, I am Nerdy Little Collective, and I am here to talk about a few of the books that I've read recently. I am very behind when it comes to reviewing books, but I am so excited to share some information about the books that I have read. We're going to start with the ones that I read in March. I read a lot of these for the Trans Rights Readathon, and I am only just now talking about them because I've been incredibly busy. Some of these books include Mooncakes, The Beautiful Something Else, These Vengeful Gods, Boys Weekend, and Bad Girls. So let's start with Mooncakes. Mooncakes is a graphic novel that features a witch and a werewolf. The werewolf is non-binary, and they have to save the town. Essentially, there is something going on in the forest, and they have to use special skills in order to bind what is in the forest. Now, the werewolf and the witch, they were really close friends growing up, but then the wolf moved away, they lost contact, and finally the wolf is back, and that is Mooncakes. It's a really beautiful tale. I loved the vibes. Ultimately, I ended up giving it a 5 stars because I just loved it so much. The Beautiful Something Else is another story that I read during the month of March. This book really highlights questioning your own identity. So it features a non-binary main character, but the non-binary main character is really struggling to figure out who they are. And it centers identity and finding yourself and being okay with being who you are. With this book, I gave it a 4.75 for the star rating. I really, really did love this one. I listened to it through an audiobook, and it was just a beautiful telling of the story. I really connected with the characters, and I really just wanted to read more of this book. It really was that kind of book, and I've found books recently that I really connect with, and maybe I'll share those in a later series, but this one just really had me connecting with how the character was feeling. The next book that I read in March was These Vengeful Gods. The book it was really great. I gave it a 4.5, but it is a competition-based world where there's magic involved. There's characters who are both struggling to find their identity, but also struggling in the world that has been created for them. So they are a mix of trying to figure out themselves and also figure out how to survive a corrupt world. I really loved this story a lot. I found myself reading it super quickly. It was a buddy read for me, and I think that although some parts of it were predictable, I also think that some parts were just nice to really explore those identities. Now, I also read Boys Weekend and Bad Girls, and I'm not going to talk too much about either of those. They weren't ones I really connected with, but they are still great novels for those who are interested in this space. For Boys Weekend, I am personally not much of a horror reader anyways, so I think I found myself having a hard time understanding what was going on in the story. And then for Bad Girls, I did really like that. I listened to that through an audiobook, but I think that sometimes I found it difficult to follow, and that's really just my own personal comprehension when it comes to stories. So I think that those absolutely have value for people if that is something that you are looking for. But those were my March reads. I will try to come back talking about my April reads, and then May, and get through June, and maybe I'll be all caught up. So tune in later to see what other books that I have read this year.